I'm hungry. So we're gonna make a real quick, easy sheet pan dinner tonight. I probably should save this for one of the nights I'm at work, but I weighed my options and I figured this one will be the easiest tonight because I still have to cut up and peel the carrots and stuff. I've got some green beans, carrots. I wanted to get these out of the refrigerator. Bought them a couple weeks ago, I think about 3 weeks ago, so I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to get a little worried. I've got some garlic, honey, mustard. Guess you get what we're doing here. It's a honey mustard. I'm going to use some garlic and herb by Kinder's, salt, pepper, avocado oil. And we're going to cook this real quick in the oven on a sheet pan. So I cut the green beans. You didn't have to. I did it just so that I can get these mixed in here a little bit better. But I'm going to do these twice just because there's, substantial amount of green beans. It did not call for this much. There's 3 pork chops. I'm probably going to eat double the vegetables, and my husband's going to eat both pork chops. That's kind of how this is going to work. The only other thing, I got out the garlic and herb, and it didn't call for that, but I'm going to do it a little different. So the veggies, we're going to do garlic powder, salt, or pepper, and salt. I've preheated the oven, actually, also, just because I'm looking at it. I'm going to throw some Slappy Mama. I want a little flavor I want different flavors on stuff. So we're going to do that. We're going to get this stirred up, and I'm going to throw it on a sheet pan. I just need to get parchment paper on it, and then we will go ahead and cut up the carrots. I don't want these to take all day, so we're going to just cut the smaller ends in half, and then we're going to quarter the whole thing. So take the fatter end and then in half again. That's all we're going to do for the carrots. And I did do 5 carrots. Okay, we're going to repeat what I did earlier. I'm going to do the avocado oil. Some garlic powder. Salt. Got it right this time. Pepper. And a little bit of the Slappy Mama. I want some varying flavors between I want varying seasoning flavoring. Now, I know on the pork chops we're going to do the honey mustard, but I still think that this is the way to go with this. So this is going to go on the sheet pan, like I said, for a 425 degree oven, and we're going to put it in for about 15 to 20 minutes to get those carrots softened. So in the bowl, and I'm not going to dirty another one. It's just got basic seasoning in it. I'm going to add in some Dijon mustard. I've got 3 pork chops. Honey. Now, I don't want these sweet. That is not my goal. I'd say 2 tablespoons. Double the mustard to the honey. And we're going to take some garlic. And last, this is where I'm going to put the Kinders. And this we're going to baste on both sides of the pork chops. I don't think that's enough seasoning. I've got 3 pork chops. There we go. We're going to give this a mix. And like I said, this is just going to go on, we're going to paint this on the pork chops. I'm going to give it just a little. Taste it. It isn't sweet, so I'm going to add just a little bit more honey, maybe another tablespoon. I did have quite a bit of mustard in this bowl. I just don't want it sweet. I like it on the vinegary side. I like vinegar. I like an acidic base to most things. That's better. There's just a hint of sweetness, and that's all we're looking for, at least for me. If you like sweet honey mustard, then add more. Veggies have come out. The carrots are getting soft, and they're browning. We're going to take the marinade, and remember, we're going to put it on one side, and then we're going to flip them after about 10 minutes in the oven, cook the other. And that's it. Then dinner will be done. I have a real bad habit. I don't put enough on the first side because I'm always worried I won't have enough left. So I'm trying to be generous. Now watch, I won't have enough left for the other side. Back in the oven. All right, these are, put them in for 8 minutes. We're gonna flip them. And we're gonna put them in for another 8 to 10 or until they register. Get that off there. Until they register about 145, which is what you want for pork chops. So let's just get these on here. See, I'm worried. I went light. The other thing you could do to make them real pretty afterwards, I think I did it just right, is we could throw this under the broiler and it would broil it just a little bit. I think I did pretty good this time. That will go in the sink, and then this is just going to go in for about another, I'm going to go 6 to 8, and then I'm going to check the temperature of the pork chops because I don't want to overcook them. And here we go, and they smell wonderful. Just a different idea to try. Another night, another simple, easy meal for us to throw together. I'm going to do, I refer to it as chopped steak with mushroom and onion gravy. I have to tell my husband it's Salisbury steak. Otherwise, he thinks there's a steak. So, I've got flour, onions, or mushrooms, onions. I've just got 2 mismatched packets of instant mashed potatoes that we're going to throw together. I've got a little over a pound, and it's 96 lean ground beef. I haven't decided. I haven't had these in years, and I thought we would try these. They used to be very good. I don't know. We're going to open the can and see if I'm actually going to serve them or not. For the gravy, I've got the flour. I've just got some Kinder's garlic and herb. And I got out chicken bone broth. I might not have any beef, so we might be using chicken bone broth to make the gravy. I went ahead and pattied the 4 burger patties. I just cut them into 4s. We're going to season while they're in the pan on each side. And then we're going to take them, and all I have here is some flour, and we're going to dredge them in flour. Season the other side. In the meantime, I'm going to take some oil, and I'm just going to spray that in the pan. These are lean burgers, so they're not going to give off nearly as much, and I'm going to make a mess. This isn't, I'm not breading these. These are just going to give them a nice little crust. That's all I'm trying to do. Got the pan frying with the burgers. For a quick shortcut, if you have just hamburger patties or just buy a package of hamburger patties, you can do the same thing. Or you can put all the stuff in them to make them real Salisbury steaks. I just don't like all the fillers. I'd rather have the burger patty. I grew up eating this when we would go to, this is going to sound really bad. when my Nana would take me to dinner, this is what we would order, was chopped steak with mushroom gravy. And there were onions in it. So, and we'd have it with usually a baked potato, because when they would serve it, they would come to the table, and remember, I'm old, and they would bring these, they had like 4 containers, and it was all metal, and it would spin like a Lazy Susan, but you know, and it would have bacon and sour cream and butter and something, and maybe onions or something. And I remember we got to do our own baked potatoes, and I always thought it was neat. But this is what my Nana and I always used to get. So it's kind of a remembering her. Okay, we're going to pop some butter, about 2 tablespoons. And we're going to kind of deglaze this. I'm going to throw in the onions. And we're going to cook the onions and the mushrooms. And all the while, this is going to get all those little bits off the bottom of this. And that's just flavor. All I did was take the beef patties out, and they're not fully cooked, because for one, I like them medium, not overly cooked. But we're going to cook them the rest of the way when we put them back in the gravy, and then we'll heat them back up and finish cooking them. Now that I've got the onions and the mushrooms where I want them, I am going to add at least 2 heaping tablespoons of flour. I'm making a pan sauce. I'm not making a thick gravy. I might have called it, you know, a mushroom gravy, but this is more of a pan sauce. So I'm not trying to get like a biscuit and gravy type texture. If I had wanted it thicker, I would add more flour, but I would also have had to add more butter, because you need it to be able to thicken the broth that we're going to put in there. And I like a lot of mushrooms and onions. So you don't have to put this much. This is just how I like it. We're going to cook that flour flavor out just a little. I also threw in some of the Kinder's garlic and herb and seasoned the mushrooms and onions. And I've opened the bone broth. And I've had someone ask, why do I use bone broth? I like bone broth better. If you ever look at it, there's less sodium in every single bone broth than there is in the broths, the stocks. So when my dad was sick, we had like, you know, any amount of sodium, and he would just swell up. So we really were limiting the amount of sodium in everything. And that was one of the first things I started looking at, was the fact that bone broth had so little, for 1 cup, it's 110 milligrams of sodium. A lot of the broths and the stocks are 500 and 550. In fact, some of the low sodiums are even higher than the ones with sodium, or with regular. It's really interesting when you start reading labels. It's kind of actually scary. The other thing we would do is we found at Meijer's here, we found a no salt added broth, and that was the one we used, and we used the bone broths with my dad, because it still had the flavor that we could use to make the things we wanted to, and he could have it. But we just had to be real careful. So this is going to thicken some more, and you saw I keep adding a little bit more. I'm going to add the burgers back in here and let this start to come up. And if it gets too thick, then I'm going to thin it out just a little bit. And there we go. Nice and easy. Dinner on the table relatively quick. And it doesn't matter if you just open up a can of peas or make some instant mashed potatoes. Just something easy, quick, warm, and delicious. Are you tired of my sheet pan dinners yet? I'm not. Sorry if you are. But this is basically end of the week, and I am just cleaning out what is in the refrigerator at this point and what we need to use. And I threw out a few things, and I don't want to throw out anything else. So from last night's dinner, we still have quite a bit of the instant mashed potatoes because, dummy me, I made enough for what we would have had when the boys lived here. It's just still how I cook. So we're going to have this over the top of mashed potatoes. I've got a alfresco chicken sausage. It's caramelized onion and cheddar. It just sounded good, so I had picked that up. I have a massive red onion, and I love red onion roasted. I had 1 poor pepper. I had a sweet potato. Yes, double, but it's fine. It needs to be used. I have broccoli left over. There's a couple of carrots in here. And then we're going to make a real quick dressing for all of this that we'll coat it in, and then we'll throw it in the oven. And that's of balsamic vinegar, garlic, spicy brown mustard, salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning. So basically, I just peeled these carrots. This is all I had left of the carrots. They were fine. They didn't have to be used, but I wanted to. I think I'm just going to cut them in half and then cut them in half. And I'm going to throw everything into a Ziploc bag, and then we'll make the marinade. These I'm just going to cut in half. Basically, cut them so they're all kind of uniform because you want all of this to cook together. So this was bigger, so I'm just going to cut those down a little bit more. So for the sweet potato, I did peel it. You don't have to. But I'm going to do them pretty small. And here's the reasoning. I'm trying to get everything to cook around the same time. So, like the broccoli, I'll leave in bigger pieces. These I'm going to cut into smaller pieces. So they'll cook more evenly. Just real simple. The peppers, we're going to leave them in bigger pieces because they'll cook faster. Here's half of the onion. I always say I'm going to cut back, but I love onion, so I may not. And I have a whole nother half. But we're just going to break them all apart and toss them in here. I'll let you know if I end up with a whole or a half on the red onion. Okay, I stuck with the half so far. I'm going to cut just the bottom off. Throw that away. And like I said, we're going to leave these a little bit bigger. So, kind of like that. We'll stir them enough, they'll be fine. Okay, we're going to cut these just into bite-sized pieces. These are fully cooked. We're trying these. I hadn't tried these before. But but I got them on sale. They sound good, and we like the other chicken sausages that we've been buying. So, now that that's all done, put that over here. In here, actually, let me grab a bowl. I'm going to mix the marinade or the dressing or whatever you want to call it, together, and then we'll put it on this so that way you don't end up with pieces of the different ingredients. All right, you can use Dijon, you can use yellow mustard. I'm using spicy brown. It's not spicy. I don't do spicy, but I like this combination. So I have quite a bit of veggies, and I just sprayed that all over me. I'm going to say about 3 tablespoons of this. And I'm going to have to buy more of that. And then we're going to add in some garlic. Maybe 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons, 2 cloves. Take your Italian seasoning. Do at least a teaspoon. Balsamic vinegar. We are going to do 2 tablespoons. So you see 3 parts mustard, 2 parts balsamic. And then salt. Remember, it's a lot of veggies. Pepper. Use my favorite little tool. This really does work well for these type of marinades. Put this down. And now put the brown mud, because that's what it looks like in there, and I'll get a spatula and scrape that out. And then we're just going to seal up the bag. And don't be like me, and make sure you keep your hand on it. And we're going to get all of this all mixed up together. Well, I'm telling you the truth. I always try to do it the easy way, and I don't know why I bother. Get a bowl. When you're cooking this much, just grab the bowl. Give this all a really good mix. It just wasn't mixing well enough. I can't stop making too much food. I've proven that. But that's okay. It's Saturday night. I'm leaving for my mom's for the next 3 nights. So I can take some of this for lunch tomorrow. And my husband will have some for dinner tomorrow or lunch. There we go. You just want a little on all of it. That's why you don't make a ton of it. But there we go. Now take your... I preheated my oven to 425. I lined a sheet pan. Oh, that is a lot of veggies. That is a lot of veggies. But we had it. I didn't want it to go bad. And it probably would have, sitting in the refrigerator for another week. Tide wouldn't have cooked any of this. So we're going to get it as even as a layer as I can. And we're going to put it in for about 25 minutes. The trick I try to do is on the sausage, I try my best to make sure one side is on the bottom of the smoked sausage, because then that way it'll brown and get a really nice char on it. And that's where some of the flavor comes from. And I'll probably have to rotate these veggies a couple of times. Yeah, I might be taking food for the girls tomorrow. This is a lot. Oh well. It didn't go to waste, and that's the whole point. It wasn't going to go bad in my refrigerator. So, about 30 minutes, and I just kept rotating. And everything is cooked.